with Pesas. So I'll be taking a round one interviews for a position of Java developer, and I'll be asking you basic questions related to Java, maybe SQL, and related to logic as well. So before we get started, do you have a pen and paper handy with you? Because you might need it for some of the questions.
Uh, yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay, okay, good. So, okay, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and the projects or technologies that you worked on?
Yeah, sure. So,
Mm-hmm.
hi Shobik, this side. I am currently working as a system engineer in from past 3 years. My current roles and responsibilities are majorly into developing the requirements given by the clients. I'm involved in the multiple activities like starting from the requirement phase to the development of the application and also in the deployment of that application to our dev server. And I'm also responsible for maintaining the functionality which I have developed. My tech stack, talking about my tech stack include basic core Java, Spring Boot, Hibernate, and MySQL as a backend database. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you also have experience with databases, right?
Uh, yeah, I have little hands-on. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, right. So you said you have total 3 years of experience, right?
Yeah, right.
Right with the questions then. Uh, you have worked with collections before, right? So you might have used Hashmap somewhere.
Yeah, I have used it.
Okay. So a basic scenario on that. So let's say I have an employee class with me,
Okay.
and I want to use that class as a key in my hash map. So do you know
Okay.
if there is any changes needed to be made for this to work correctly?
Okay, so you want to have a key as an employee in Hashmap, right?
Yeah.
It's an custom object, okay, employee class. So yeah,
Yeah.
we should have we should override that hash code method and equals method in this case, and uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it should be good enough so that less hash collision occurs. So
Okay.
yeah, basic is this. We can use, like, yeah, it is possible we can use, but we have to override the hash code and equals method. We can also use the object class hash code and equals method also, but it is better to
Mm-hmm.
override that and provide your own implementation so that less hash collision occurs. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say I've overridden the hash code and equals method, and in the hash code method that I've overridden, I am always returning a constant number. Let's say I'm returning a constant number of 5.
Okay.
So how would this affect the performance of the hash map?
Yeah, this will affect very badly, I say. Like, for example, if you are inserting 1 comma Shobik and 2 comma Ajay, so in every case the hash code will always be 5, for example. And so in this case
Mm-hmm.
it will Hashmap will always allocate that particular node, only fifth node, to our inserting values. Fifth node will be having Shobik 1 comma Shobik, and again the linked list will be maintained in that particular node. This was prior to Java 1.8. Linked list was maintained, and after 1.8 a balance tree is used in if it is a hash collision. So in this case, for example, if multiple nodes are here in Hashmap, uh, the retrieving complexity will be more than normally what Hashmap has. So it
Mm-hmm.
will affect the retrieval functions.
Okay. Uh, do you know the behavior if I implement the hash code only and I do not implement the equals method?
Um, if you are overriding hash code only and not equals method,
Mm-hmm.
okay, in this case it will use object class equals method, and um, it will use object class, and you can say, like, yeah, their values will be like, when I am getting the I am retrieving the data from the hash map. So in that case efficiency will be less, like I am comparing the object reference or the value, so in that case it will be a deferred. But we should means if I'm overriding the hash code, we should always override that equals method also. It's a patch between these two, contract between these two, so for efficiency of hashmap.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, do you know what are immutable classes?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say I have a class person with me,
Okay.
and it has two attributes: a string name and a list of string of degrees.
A list of degrees.
These, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And we also have setters and getters for both of these
Okay.
in the class. And I want to convert this class to an immutable class. So what changes do I need to do to this class?
Okay. So you are having a person class with name and list of string of degrees, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, for an immutable class, it has to be final class. I will declare that class as a final, and their data members, that name and degree, list of degrees, will also be final, private and final, so that its
Okay.
values cannot be changed. Okay. And the getters and setters, I will not provide the setters method. I will provide only getters method. And in getters method also, I will not return the same object, same. So suppose it's a string, so I will return this dot string. And in case of list, I will create a new list and return that one. uh, I
Mhm.
will clone that list, or we can say that clone that list and return that list.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know are there any disadvantages of immutable classes?
Disadvantages, like I cannot be able to write anything in that class, so major disadvantage is this only. Suppose I want to have wait, okay, so I'm returning a, yeah, memory consumption will be more, like I'm returning the clone of that object, new object is created, so in that
Yeah.
case memory consumption is more. Huh.
Mhm.
This is the reason. um,
And any benefits that you know of immutable class?
Benefits will be client will not be able to uh, change my original data, so I'm returning that clone method, and they will perform all the operation on that clone object only. Our the original data will be as it will not be changed, so security wise it is good one.
Mhm. Okay. So, uh, okay, this time let's say I have a student class with me, which
Okay.
has some properties: first name, last name, and so on. And I have, okay, and I have created a list of students,
Okay.
and I want to sort this list based on the first name property of the student class. So, how can we do that?
You are having a list of students, right?
Yes.
Means class is student and it is having their names and their roll
Yeah,
number,
so we have a
right?
class student
Okay.
and it
Okay.
has some properties: first name, last name.
Okay.
And I have created an array list of this
Okay.
student type.
Okay. Array list.
And
Okay.
I want to sort this list based on the first name property.
Uh, yeah. For having custom object, we will not be using collection dot sort. Instead of, we will be using comparator in this case, and the code will be like, I will be using comparators in overridden method compare to. I will override the compare to method, and and I can write also Java 8 code, like I can write collections dot sort the list comma comparator name. And for comparator, I'll be having comparator of employee, generic comparator, and employee O1, employee O2, and O2 dot get name dot compare to O2 O1 dot get name. So in this case, they internally compare to will sort on basis on the ascending order.
Mhm. And what was the method name that we need to override?
Compare to.
Well,
For comparator, it is compare method.
yeah.
Yeah, compare. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any experience with multi-threading?
Uh, yeah, I have some knowledge. I consider
Okay.
myself as a beginner.
Okay. So a basic example on that.
Okay.
So let's say I have a class A,
Okay.
and inside that there is only single method m1, which I have defined as public void synchronized m1,
Okay. Synchronized lemon. Okay. Okay.
and in its body I'm calling thread.sleep for 5 seconds.
Okay. Red dot sleep. Huh.
Mhm. So now this was the class structure. Now I have created two objects, two different objects of this class,
Mm-hmm.
let's say
Okay.
A1 and A2, and from two different threads using these two different objects I'm invoking the M1 method.
Okay.
So
Okay.
how will be the execution? Will they run parallelly? Will they have to wait for each other's execution to finish?
Yeah, they will execute parallelly only because according to the thread scheduler allocates the processor, accordingly it will execute. At once it will execute thread 1. If thread T1 allocates the processor, then T1 will be executed, else T2. It can be random by default.
Okay, so anyone can execute it first, but
Yeah.
let's say while thread 1 reaches the method first and they start executing it, and there's a thread.sleep for 5 seconds inside the method. So does the second thread have to wait for 5 seconds till the first thread finishes its execution?
Yes, yes, it will wait because it's a synchronized method, so it has to wait for 5 seconds, and then after that it will um, execute that one.
Okay. Do you know what is object level synchronization and class level synchronization?
Yeah, I have some idea. Yeah.
Okay, so can you explain it a bit?
uh, Object level synchronization, class level. Okay, so for example, means in every class, in every Java program, the object level lock is always acquired by the thread. And suppose if I am writing a t1 dot start, and in that case that object will be having lock on that whole class, like thread, like my thread class uh, method m1. In this case whole object level lock will be there. And suppose if I want to have a class level lock, then I'll be having I'll declare that class is synchronized in that case. um, so at once only single thread will be able to execute that method. Else other thread will be waiting, will be there in waiting state. Yeah,
Not
basic.
quite actually. So, okay. Do you have any experience with new Java 8 features? Anything, any features that you know of that were added in Java 8?
Yeah, there are many features I did in Java 8. Some of them are functional interface and stream API and daytime API. Static and default methods added in interface, and yeah, this much.
Okay,
Daytime API.
so,
Yeah.
uh, okay, so, okay, here's an example. I want you to find the answer using stream API. Okay,
Okay.
so I have a list of integers with me, and I need to find the sum of square of all the odd numbers in this list. So if you
Sum
want,
of
you can write it down.
sum of
Sum of square of all the odd numbers in
sum of
this list.
okay, sum of square of all odd numbers in the list. Okay.
Yeah. So how can I do it using stream API?
Okay. Sum. Okay. Okay, so for example, I'm a list of integer, list dot stream. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be using filter to filter out the um, integers which are odd. Okay, so in filter I'll be writing a arrow a mod 2 not equals to 0. In that case I'll be getting the odd numbers. Okay,
Okay.
for each odd numbers I have to square that, right? Okay, so for to perform each operations on each object of the list class, so I'll be using map so I'll be using dot map I into I goes to I into I.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at this point of time I'll be having sum of odd integers, and then I'll collect the collectors dot to list collect collectors dot to list.
Okay, so first we did a filter
Filter,
to
yeah,
get the odd numbers.
yeah,
Then with map,
map
we got the
square,
square of the numbers
yeah,
of these odd numbers.
yes.
Finally, we need to find the sum.
Sum, okay, sum is
So
left, yeah,
do you know,
yeah,
yeah, how we
dot,
can do
yeah,
that?
dot sum. I can call dot sum.
Mm-hmm.
It will return
Yeah.
sum, and I'll store that in integer data type.
Yeah. So that will work.
Yeah, that will work, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any experience with Linux systems? Any basic terminal commands that you know of?
uh, I have very basic knowledge of Unix, you can say. Currently I'm working in a Windows server. Our development server is Windows server, so basic commands I know, but not much
Any
hands-on I have.
example that you know of?
uh, for example, cat command is used to create the file and write some data in that file, and to grant the permissions to the of a file, we can use chmod, and we can give the parameters, not parameters like space, their numerical value. uh, I don't remind that numerical value. In that numerical value we can specify that if they will have a read access, write access, or just an execution access.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from this, we can I have a who command, so it will uh, give me the who is using this, means the name of the system. And yeah, basic copy, remove, and current directory, these commands I know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so an example for database. So
Okay,
let's say I have a table with me. The table name is book author. This is a single table. Okay.
okay,
And it has two columns, book and author.
okay,
And here book is a unique column, since name of all the books are unique. The author column can have duplicate values, since a single author can have written multiple books.
okay.
And I need you to write a select query that is going to give me names of all the authors who have written more than 10 books.
Okay. What columns did book have?
So the table name was book author,
Okay, book author.
and the column names are book and author.
Okay, single table is there.
Yeah, this is a single
Okay,
table.
okay. Okay, so in book column we are having book name like A, B, C, D, E, F. They'll be
Yeah, and
distinct.
they are unique
Okay,
values, yes.
okay. And author will be can be duplicate. Yeah, one author can
Yeah,
write out two books. Okay.
yeah.
So
And I
you
need to find name of all the authors who have written more than 10 books.
more than 10 books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, can simply write. I can simply write. Uh, you want to get the author name, right? So
Yeah.
select uh, author uh, author name, comma
Mm-hmm.
count of count of book uh, from that book author. uh, but if I'm writing count here, can't use where condition. So book author can have more than 10 also. You want exactly 10 or more than 10?
More than 10.
More than 10. Okay. With count, actually, yeah, I can use count of book where uh, no, I can't use where with count. Order by, yeah, okay. So select uh, book name, uh, comma count, uh, group by, I will use group by author, group by book name, and I'll be having uh, for conditioning in aggregate functions we have to use, just a second. I'm getting confused here. Yeah, we'll be using count function, right? We'll be using count function, and for that count I have to get the count is greater than 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Order by group by book ID, and no, I can't use forgetting the last thing, like instead of where condition I have to specify what, like no. Select book ID from book author. So count also count of author. Okay. From this and group by author. So I'll be having according to author it will be listing, like I'm using group by, and where I can use limit, but can be greater than 0. Descending. Here what I have to do is select of book.
Okay, what are you thinking? So, for the select part first, what are we going to select here?
I'll be selecting, like you need the author name which have count of greater than 10. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll be selecting the author column.
Okay.
Okay, select author and
Mm-hmm.
comma count of author also. Count of not author, count of book.
Okay.
Yeah, I can use having here, having count equals to 10. Yeah, I can use that. So my query will be select book id, for example book id comma uh, count of author uh, from this book author table, and group by author name, having count equals to or greater than 10. Will that
Okay.
work?
So, so we don't need the count in select query. So, I mean, in the select part. So, if we
Yeah,
just do
if I'm
select author from the table book author and group by, we have to group by with the author,
also, yeah,
and then
having
we
count,
can use
yeah,
having count.
yeah, greater than 10, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, in the
Yes.
count is a method. So, which column name do we have to pass to the count here?
The author column.
Uh, since we are grouping it by the authors, we cannot pass the count here because the count of author would always give it one. So we have to do count of book here.
Book, okay, yeah, book, yeah, based on the yeah, book name, author will be calculated. Yeah, on yeah, in parentheses of count we will be giving book. Yeah, book.
Yeah. So count of book greater than 10. That
Yes.
would be the case. Okay. So question related to logic. Let's say I
Okay.
have an array of integers
Area of integers.
and
Okay.
in input I'm also given a number. Let's say that number is 5. Okay.
Number is 5. Okay.
And I have to find a pair of numbers from this array whose difference is going to be 5. So I don't need to find all the pairs from the array. I just need to find a single pair.
Okay. Uh,
So what
any
kind of logic will you
example?
use?
Example, yeah. Like sample case, if you can share sample input and output.
Okay. Let me just.
Uh, 5. Like output will be the pair or the count number of pairs in that array.
No, just a single pair.
Okay,
I don't
single
have to
pair.
find like all the pairs from the array.
Single pair.
I just need to find a single pair.
Okay. So if you are giving number as 5, 2, 3, 4. If I'm having array 1, 2, 3, 4, so it will return 2 and 3.
Okay, so I need the difference of the numbers to be of 5. So a pair would be like 8 and 3 or 7 and 2.
Okay. Difference should be the number specified
Yeah.
in that array. Okay. In that case, absolute value will be there. So yeah, the basic like brute force solution will be like I'll be running a loop inside a loop and traversing each element and checking like if it's a difference, absolute difference is that number.
Mm-hmm.
So if I
So
got that number and I'll return, simply break and return that pair.
yeah. So if we use a nested loop, what would be the time complexity here?
Yeah, if I'm using the nested loop, it will be n square.
Okay.
Yeah,
So can you
big O
think
of
of
n
any
square.
better solution?
Yeah, let me think. For better solution, um, okay, I can use like basic approach like two pointer. I'll go in that. In two pointer, the first or the both pointer, first and second pointer will be on the first array, first element of that array, and I'll be checking like if I'll run a while loop, like if for example L and left and right, so yeah, L1 and L2 are in the left side of the array, the first index, okay, and I'm checking like left is less than the size of that array. I'll run that loop, and I will check like if array of that L1 and L1 minus array at L2 is, if it is equal to that particular like count, not count, that integer 5. If it is equal
Yeah.
to 5, I'll simply return that
So
R and that L1
yeah,
L2.
so if I have it at 0th and the first index at the beginning, the pointers,
Yeah.
that's how we'll start.
Yes. Yes.
And if they don't match, then how are we going to
If
proceed with
yeah,
it?
if uh, if that sum is equals, I'll return yeah, okay, and if it is greater than, yeah, if it L1 minus L2 is greater than that specified sum 5, then I'll increase the L1 pointer. If it is greater than, if it is less than, I'll increase the right pointer. Should I write in the chat box, or
No, that's fine. Uh,
like basic thing is like, if I'm getting the less than that specified sum, then in that case I'll increment the right pointer, or we can L2 pointer, and if it is
okay,
less than, I'll
so
increment the L1 pointer.
first thing, so uh, the array is not sorted here. So if it's not sorted,
If it is not sorted, yeah, I
yeah, then do you think this will work?
no, this will work only in sorting.
Okay.
Sorting one. This, okay. Uh, if it is not equals to, like, I can sort that array, but complexity will increase to n log n for
Okay, so
n log
let's
n.
say the array is sorted,
Yeah.
and you are trying this logic that you just said.
Yeah. Yes.
So we have two pointers, L1 and L2, pointing first at 0th and the first index. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then we check if the difference is 5. So if it's not 5, what will we do?
Else if I'll check like L1 minus L2 is greater than that sum or not. If it is greater, I will increment L1. If it is less, I will increase L2.
Okay, so if it is greater, you will increment L1. So when you say you will increment L1, which index will it point to?
It will like suppose if it is having, suppose I'm considering 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5, and you have given me n is equal to, say, it should not be adjacent, right?
Uh,
It can be
okay.
anywhere, like first or last. Yeah.
Yeah. It can be any two numbers from here.
Okay. So yeah, if it is L1 is here, L2 is also here, L2 here, yeah, and I'll I'll check L1 minus L2, any that means 2 minus 1 equals will be 1. So if R minus 3 is 8, 8 minus 4 is 4, okay, 4, if it is given 4, so in that case 2 minus 1 is 1. It is less than, so I'll increment both. I'll increment the later part, yeah, I'll increment L2, and if it is equals, like I'll also check like if ARR of I minus ARR of L minus ARR of L1 and L2, and L2 and L1 difference of both. If it is equal to n, then I'll simply return. Else, if the difference is less than k, it should be in sorted order. If it is not in sorted, then also it will work. I think that will work. If like it is less than, I'll increment the L2, and if it is greater than, I'll increment L1.
Okay, so we started with L1 and L2 pointers at 0th and the first index of the array. Then we compare the difference if it is not 5, if it is greater than 5. What do we do now?
If it is greater than 5, I'll increment L1.
So if you increment L1, which index is it pointing to?
It will point to the same index, like 1, 1 and 1.
So both the pointers are pointing at index
Same.
1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it will check like
for the next iteration. Yeah, the difference is going to be 0. What is it going to do?
If it will be again less than. So I'll increment the L2 pointer. It will be incrementing the L2.
So L2 would go to
third index.
So yeah, index 2.
0, 1, 2. Yeah, second index. Yeah. And L1 is still in the first index. And so in next loop,
what's happening is basically we are comparing the adjacent numbers only, and this this logic won't work here.
Adjacent. It will not compare only adjacent. It can compare also like a first and last also. If it is sorted array, like if it is greater than, I'll increment left one. Else right one. I can also do in this also. If it is sorted.
So that would be a better option.
While L1 is less than L2. Less than or equal to 8 minus 1 will be 7. It is less than, so I'll increment L1. If it is less than, L1 will be incremented, else L2 will be decremented. This will also work.
Okay, so what would be the time complexity for this?
For this, like sorted array which you suggested, right? For this, I am only iterating half array at a time, so big O of n by 2. So ultimately it will be big O of n. Big O of n.
Okay. Okay, Vaibhav. So I'm done with my questions. Thank you. It was nice talking to you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.